Desiree here. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about the culture in America. So we have this melting pot of just people. And so we come from all these different cultures, these different backgrounds, ideals, values, goals, etc., etc. All right. But if we look at like the traditional, I guess the culture would be Southern, traditional Southern culture or American culture. You know, we have back in the 40s and 50s, the woman stayed in the house and took care of the kids and cooked and cleaned, and the husband went out to work and he was the provider and he did the yard work and so on and so forth. So we have these traditional men and women roles. But if we look back 100 years ago, a little over 100 years ago, women just got the right to vote at that point. We just became somewhat equal. And if we put that akin to African Americans, about 10 generations ago, 10 to 15 generations, depending on, when people have kids, but about 10 to 15 generations ago, they just got their rights. So within the last 3 to 4 generations, women got their rights. And so we have to start to understand that because it's only been such a very short time, the shift in that mindset is going to be a little bit different now than it was back then. Think about it. 100 years ago, women couldn't own property. They couldn't even file a police report if they wanted to, say that somebody raped them. They would have to get their father or their brother or their husband to file that police report for them. So with that being said, we couldn't own property, we couldn't be in the corporate world, etc. Now we're breaking glass ceilings. We have a vice president that's a woman. We have, women CEOs. We have women with, PhDs and master's degrees and higher education, and women owning their own property. And so we see that there's this shift in, I don't need you, I want you. As opposed to 100 years ago, a woman had to get married in order to have a sustainable life. And they had to stay with their husband even though the husband was shitty and saying things to them that were emotionally abusive, and they were physically abusive, and they were cheating on them, and so on and so forth. So with that shift, we now own our own property. We now can file police reports. We now don't have to put up with all of that crap, and we can say bye. And so that's where the divorce rate comes in, this high divorce rate. And we see the change in, we want men who are chivalrous, but we also want men who can match our energy. We want men who can match our education level. We want men who can match our drive, our success, our careers, etc. You don't have to make more money than me, but I need to see that you're trying. I need to see that you're contributing. I need to see, and it's not that women want a man to just come in and take control. That's not what women want. And so when a man starts to do that and that I'm the king of the castle crap, are you really though? Are you really the king of the castle? Because a typical American relationship at this point is we are equals, and I'm not going to go out and go to work all day and then come home and have to cook and clean and do all of the housework and everything on top of me bringing in the most amount of money in the household. That doesn't make sense. Both partners need to be willing to do that in this day and age. It's not 100 years ago. And so that's where we see this breakdown of, this is what we were taught from, our parents and our grandparents and things of that nature, because that's what they grew up with. But the typical American relationship and the typical guy and girl gender roles don't apply anymore. And we need to figure out our new culture, our new ideals, and start instilling those in our children instead of the old way that they grew up with and they taught us. It just doesn't work anymore.